Okay, so we got a lot of people who think that modern technology, because we have it and it's on the battlefield, that it's the God all beat all, win all of everything. That's not true. If you are using night vision, then you are illuminating the area with UV light. That means that anybody else with UV equipment can see you. And also, you can see them vice versa. There are a lot of things that you can do to screw up something with night vision. One of them is to send up a flare. Now, I was watching a thing on tanks, and they were talking about incendiary rounds and illumination rounds. An illumination round, you fire up into the sky. It's got a bunch of white phosphorus and stuff in it, and it comes down slowly and it illuminates a very large area. It might be red phosphorus, I don't know. Um, but something like that they used in World War II that they no longer manufacture or use in tanks, it's still something that's useful just because if you're the United States, you're fighting against third world countries. You're not going to try opposing another first world power. It's just not going to happen. The United States, as big of bullies as they've been, if you pick on the wrong dude, there's going to be 8 or 9 countries all at once that are going to be unfriendly with the United States. It's just a bad idea. No matter how big our military is, especially with the morale of the nation right now, yeah, we couldn't win a war. Fucking kidding me? But we have the advantage being as we have the technology and our opponents don't. However, that technology can be bypassed with old technology. If you use that very same incendiary round, or that very same flashbang grenade, or that very same road flare, you can blind somebody who's using one of those, at least temporarily. Now, there's a reason that red lights are used in specific when it comes to reading on a lot of electronic stuff. At night, red is the only color that doesn't mess with your well, the sphincter around your iris. That's the type of muscle that it is. It expands and contracts, and the longer you've been in the dark, the wider it gets because the more you need to be able to see. But after you get just that one blip of light, it's going to take you 15 minutes to readjust to that point. We here in the United States, there's a lot of people all over Facebook. I get to see all about the Second Amendment, Second Amendment, Second Amendment, Second Amendment, Second Amendment. Bitch, you forgot about the First Amendment and you let it disappear because you had your Second Amendment right and had your firearm, and you still let the First Amendment sweep right on by so it no longer exists. No, I don't believe that you have the right to own that firearm. You missed your purpose for the Second Amendment, which is to protect the First Amendment, and you failed miserably. But you still want your Second Amendment right. You want people of different religions to shut the fuck up and not be allowed to speak, not be allowed to speak in schools, not be able to speak in government, not to be able to speak within their own communities. You do this to a lot of different people. You don't deserve your guns, especially talking terroristic shit like that. Speaking stuff like that doesn't just make you a terrorist, it makes you a traitor to we, the people of the United States of America. It don't matter if you're a soldier, a police officer, or a politician. You are a traitor. America is separated into two parts: the ruling class and their bitches, and then the victims of the ruling class and their bitches. I don't care if a police officer rescued a kitten out of a tree this morning if he celebrates by going and beating up a homeless person, or by bringing false charges on a disabled person, or by bullying a Hispanic person, or shooting a black person. The Native Americans die in a different way. Most of them are murdered by exposure. You drop them off out in the middle of fucking nowhere and you let them freeze to death. In Boulder County, that happens right inside of the city because it's illegal for you to use a fucking blanket and there aren't enough shelters for everyone. People say you need to move on. It doesn't matter where you move to. If you are a homeless person, you are going to be victimized. In Cheyenne, it'll take the cops probably about 2 weeks to really get on your case. If you're in Denver, it might take up to a month or two if you're really good at hiding. But here in Chapel, Nebraska, if you're homeless, you're tagged your first day here. You're tagged before you ever make it into town. And what do the police do? I've heard a lot of black people who've commented about how they were walking down the street in a neighborhood and they were arrested just for walking down the street. Do you know how many times that happens to homeless people? Just for walking down the street. Anywhere in America. And you're easiest to victimize when you're on your own. Most of the homeless people I know are homeless because they're on their own. At starting wages, you need 2 to 3 people working a full-time job in order to make the bills. As one homeless person, you're not going to make that. As a homeless person with a boyfriend or a girlfriend who's spending all their money on alcohol or marijuanas or methamphetamines or heroin, you're not going to get that. But do you know what you do get out of that? You get a protector. Sure, this guy might victimize you once every 3 weeks even. But that's still less often than you'd be victimized if you were alone, especially if you're a woman. Now, for a man, all it takes is one screwed up woman who wants to hide the fact that she did something wrong and doesn't want to think about the consequences for a man because women don't have these consequences. And somehow you expect men to just be happy and move on with their lives. Meanwhile, you take away their ability to move on with their lives. You take away their ability to see any of the things or take part in any of the things that give them any joy in their life. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What would make me happy ever since I hurt my back, being able to just go hang out with my friends and not have to worry about all of this other bullshit. To be able to spend some of my money to go do fun things instead of spending it all on rotten courts, kangaroo courts. Instead of paying all of that money to my predators for being predatory. But I don't get that choice. That's not a decision that I get to make, which is something that most of you completely bypass in your ideas that you have for me. Sean, you should do this. Sean, you should do that. 90% of your ideas need to go right out the window right now just because of the term mentally ill. Without someone in person who's actually going to fight for my rights instead of tell me that it's not their fucking job. Just telling the truth is too much for these people. I ask them, they tell me I will have to subpoena them. What is, these therapists aren't doing their jobs, and they fear retribution from the law for the illegal things that they have done, including taking public funds for services that they are not rendering. Most of the women that I know who have tried to get into housing have actually dealt with the same thing. Most of the men, too. We want to make a bunch of stuff into racist shit and sex by working together. Lucas Michael type, hey Sean, how are you doing? I'm doing pretty shitty. I got court on the 18th of this month. I don't really get the feeling that my public pretender is going to do his job. Now, I'd like to call him a public defender, but the thing is, with the history that that man and I have from the last situation, which was very much the same, yeah, I don't trust that he's going to do his job. I don't trust that Randon Rowland is going to do the right thing at all. That's the judge. I don't trust that Jen Beebe is going to come forward or tell the truth, or Jeff Ritter. I know for a fact the police aren't going to be honest at all. I'm going to court for harassing somebody who I did harass, although they charged me with intimidation, which I wasn't being intimidating, I was just being harassing. Although it's kind of fucked up because I was trying to harass like 6 or 7 different people to try to get a court date with all of them. If that's literally the only way for me to get a court date, for me to be able to defend myself, for me to be able to stop the violence and the abuse that I will have to endure for the rest of my life without an honest fucking court date. And I won't get that honest court date unless somebody helps me to get it. A lot of this electronic stuff that you guys keep typing at me to do. Are you here? If you were here, you could help teach me. There are a lot of people who said if I was there, they would help me. And then I got there and they didn't. Shannon Alvarado, prime example. The help that I went. Oh, we're back. I didn't choose for Shannon Alvarado to be an alcoholic. Alcohol to get in the way of her keeping her word. I didn't choose that. Most of these people that offered to help me weren't interested in helping me. This was entertainment and fucking drama to them. And that's all they cared about. A lot of these people, like Kara Johnson Miles and many others, who started a fucking shit ton of drama, then when they do fucked up shit, they say, hey, Sean, you're the bad guy. No, I'm not. You never should have fucking been involved to begin with. The police should have done their fucking jobs. And I'm sorry, that's not a demon coming out. I'm belching because I was drinking an orange soda pop with lots of carbonation. A lot of people just want to hold grudges because of the shit they fucking did. A lot of the evidence that I had that was on those computers and those telephones, I tried. Every single time I went to the police, I tried to show them that. Every single time. I tried to show the FBI. I tried to show the Secret Service. I've had lots of people tell me, hey, they're telling you to send it over the internet, but you can't do it that way because they're not going to investigate it. You have to send it by mail, and then you have to go in person. Meanwhile, with the way that I've been treated by the FBI, it's pretty obvious that if I go in person, I'm going to get treated the same way if I go in and talk to the police. I don't need prayers, Lucas. Prayers don't do shit. I prayed to God when my friends were freezing to death. He didn't do a goddamn thing, so I started handing out blankets. Did prayer work? No, it didn't. Did getting off of my ass work? Yes, it did. I saved an average of 11 lives just from freezing to death for each of the 7 years that I was passing out blankets. That's 77 lives. because I broke the law. 77 people on average are breathing today because I broke the law with those illegal blankets. But I'm not black, so I don't matter. Yes, it's costing me to attend court on the 18th. Now, luckily, it's here in town and I only have to walk there. I don't have a vehicle, so it's not costing me any gas. But it's the sheer quantity that it has cost me in the last 2 years that has prevented me from having an honest court date. And all of those court dates, each one, they get to use against me in the next court date to prevent me from being able to defend myself. It has cost me my sanity to go through 3 goddamn years of this. People keep saying, well, you shouldn't have broken the law. In most cases, I fucking didn't. For most of 2018, it was repeated people doing things over and over and over and over, and thousands of people were taking part in this shit. But the police wouldn't do a goddamn thing. They pretend that it's not happening and refuse to look, and it's magically okay. Every single crime that I committed was to try to force the goddamn cops to do their fucking jobs. Not one of my public pretenders would even do their goddamn jobs. What the fuck makes you think that the cops are gonna? Meanwhile, everybody in that courtroom has a conflict of interest with me. From Judge Randon Rowland to my public pretender to the prosecutor and the police officers, as well as Alyssa Rainwater. Alyssa Rainwater was a 911 operator in Adams County when Natalie Bollinger was killed. The police here, I had gone to repeatedly about that situation both before and after Natalie's death, including about the abuse by those officers. And they abused their power and the law in order to manipulate a situation that would allow them to get away with the crimes that they committed. I'm not trying to get away with the crimes that I committed. I had to do those things out of desperation, but I still did them. But if I'm going to sit in fucking jail, by God, I am going to sit in jail for shit that I actually fucking did. Also, I can prove that all of these people did these things to me, and nobody gave a fuck. No matter what, anytime somebody wanted to have an issue with me, it was always my fault. When Shannon Alvarado was being a stupid cunt because she's an alcoholic, and she bitches to Dan, it's my fault. Automatically, Dan doesn't care about my side. An alcoholic is more worth listening to than I am because I'm autistic and I must be fucking retarded. Meanwhile, I am literally smarter than all of these people. The chances of me running into someone more intelligent than I am in the average year is not very good. It's not. I mean, you look at a city the size of Boulder, and you look at how many people with my intelligence quotient there are per capita. Yeah, you need like 9 Boulders in order to find one person with my intelligence quotient. There is one person with my IQ for every 70 towns in America. A 1 to 70 ratio. You know how difficult it is for me to communicate with a bunch of fucking idiots? A bunch of goddamn primates? That's what neurotypical people are. They're primates. It's not that autistic people don't understand how your brains work. Most of us, especially high functioning, we understand completely how your brain works. And it scares the living shit out of us. And then you want to pretend that we're the ones who are fucked up in the head because we're different. We're smarter than you. We have to deal with more than you on the average day, especially when nobody is on our side and we are stuck fucking homeless. And you tell us we wanted it and we chose it. No, I didn't choose for you to victimize me over my disabilities any more than that black man asked to be fucking choked to death for the color of his skin. But then again, was that because of the color of his skin? No, it's because that's what police are taught to do. They are taught to do those things. They did those things to me. On at least 4 separate occasions since Natalie died. On at least 4 separate occasions since Natalie died, police did everything that they could to try to artificially waterboard me. You know what waterboarding is? It's a torture technique. They put a piece of cloth over your face and they pour water on it. You can't breathe. It's the illusion of fucking drowning. And it's scary as shit. Well, these police are actually compressing your chest. These hospital staff are actually putting their hands over your nose and your mouth so you cannot breathe. And they prey on the fact that there are no cameras in those rooms. And in the places where there are cameras, there's no volume on those cameras. So when they antagonize the situation, they can play victim, which is what we teach women to do in America. You and all of your friends gang up on this person because you lied, and you're going to get away with it because you have a fucking vagina. A lot of people are like, you scared of a little girl, you fucking pussy? No, I'm scared of the fucking situation that I knew was going to happen if I didn't have help protecting myself from these goddamn predators and fucking junkies. And the cops don't give a shit. They just want to collect a fucking paycheck.